Hello everybody, how are you doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, and today we have information, a rumor, a report, definitely a leak of some kind, something not confirmed, that has to do with Metroid and also Paper Mario? Yup, surprise, surprise, we have another Metroid story to talk about. We're only 3 weeks into the year, 2020, and we've had two pretty big Metroid conversations and Metroid stories, rumors, to talk about, which is great and exciting. But of course, like I mentioned, this isn't only about Metroid. There's also a rumor about Paper Mario, of all things, wrapped up into this. So I'm sure a lot of you guys already know what we're talking about. We're talking about a story that seems to be coming from an individual on Twitter known as Sabi, which I think is also wrapped up in some posts on Reset Era and those forums, and we all know Reset Era and the forums are just a crazy place over there, and it's almost like Reddit. It's like, how far can you trust a lot of that stuff? But, you know, this is where stories come from, and sometimes things, you know, originating from a Reddit or a Reset Era do turn out to be true, and so sometimes it is worth it to talk about. So it also should be noted that if we take a look at this individual on Twitter, who again goes by Sabi, at new Wabi Sabi, which is actually a pretty funny name, I don't know this person. I've never heard of this person's name. They seem to write for Nintendo Soup and Spiel Times. I'm not even familiar with that. Just somebody who, according to their Twitter profile, does write and do some sort of journalism within the industry. Pretty decent following. The reputation seems fairly solid, but again, I can't really confirm it because I've never heard of them. And I don't even know the last time I saw any kind of leak or rumor or anything get out there that seemed to have originated from this person. So that's the background, the best that I can give it. That's who this person is. You can see their Twitter account. This is who they are. And they made a couple of tweets, and again, also some posts on Reset Era, about a new Metroid game and a new Paper Mario game that is supposed to be coming out in 2020. We, of course, can see the tweets. We'll look at the Paper Mario one. They say Paper Mario going back to how it was in 2020. Okay, that's really kind of straightforward and not very thorough. And then, the actual tweet that matters, they say the 2D Metroid game does in fact seem to be related to Fusion, also sounds as though it's set for this year. Now, as far as the Paper Mario stuff, I don't really care much about Paper Mario, so it's obviously not really the focus of this video and conversation. I'll get into it a bit at the end here in case that's what you're looking for, so don't worry, I will talk about it. But obviously, we're here to talk about Metroid. That's what I do. It's what you guys come here for, and that's what I actually care about here, is this tweet and this rumor, absolutely a rumor, coming from someone I've never heard of, about a new Metroid game. And so what they're saying here is very interesting because it's about being a 2D game and it's about being related to Metroid Fusion. Now, of course, I find this stuff incredibly interesting because a 2D game and a game related to Metroid Fusion? Well, if any of you Metroid fans have been following me for any length of time, at least throughout the last year in 2019, you already know how I feel about this because how long have I been talking about this exact thing very likely happening in 2020? And it was at least halfway through the year in 2019. Once we realized the Metroid Prime trilogy thing was just continuing to be a no-show, we have no idea what's going on with that game, all the behind-the-scenes talk and chatter and rumors that have come out over the past 2 years, yeah, sure, maybe there's something to it, but you know my stance. I've long since given up on it until Nintendo decides to make it a real thing. I'm kind of sick of the whole back and forth with Metroid Prime trilogy. And through that, and then of course the delay and restart of Metroid Prime 4, I started to kind of put together an order of events in my own brain and what really made sense, and without question, as I've said for several months, if not close to a year at this point, without question, in 2020, it made sense, and I have believed that Nintendo will show us some kind of Metroid release and Metroid game. And while sure, the Prime trilogy is on that list of games, maybe it shows up in 2020, whatever, I have also long said that some sort of return to a 2D Metroid game makes a lot of sense, and I expect to see it confirmed in 2020. And of the list of possible 2D Metroid games, a Metroid 5, which would be a direct sequel to Fusion, has been right at the top of my list. A refresher for anyone who's not super familiar with kind of the Metroid timeline, even if you know the games, you might not know the timeline. I think that a lot of people seem to sometimes confuse or forget or not quite understand what the order of events are. And it should be noted that The Metroid timeline, the saga as it exists currently with all the existing games, ends with what I like to call a trilogy of games, because they are 3 games that are directly correlated to each other and lead from one to another, even though they don't necessarily share titles or numbers the way like Metroid Prime does or the other numbered games do. And that is Super Metroid, which is Metroid 3, which goes directly into Metroid Other M, everyone's favorite Metroid game, and Metroid Other M leads directly into Metroid Fusion, which of course is Metroid 4. So you get Metroid 3, Metroid Other M, and Metroid 4, and Metroid Fusion becomes the furthest in the timeline we've seen of any story of Samus, anything in the Metroid universe, which I think is pretty darn cool, and I wish that people talked about or considered that more often. I mean, people don't really think about how the actual story of the Metroid games are for the most part. We all know how great the gameplay is, and the backtracking, and the exploration, and the puzzle solving. That's what we like about Metroid, and it is the best part. But there is some really great lore there. There is a pretty interesting story, and Samus has been getting slowly more and more fleshed out over the years between the Prime Trilogy games and Metroid Other M. I know everyone hates that game, but they did flesh out Samus as a character in the story. And Metroid Fusion did the same as well. That's how her relationship with Adam Malkovich is so important between Metroid Other M and Metroid Fusion. Because in Other M, you see kind of the origins of her relationship with Malkovich, and in Metroid Fusion, she's constantly ruminating on it and reflecting on it and thinking about it and remembering him. And so it's really interesting how Samus kind of starts to become a little bit more of an actual person that we can connect to in those 2 games. Whether you like them or not, that is what's happening. And so Metroid Fusion being the furthest in the timeline, but also a game that is 17, 18 years old as of 2020, it's like, man, if we're going to get any new Metroid games, let's find out what happens after that point. And so while I'm not going to claim to be the biggest prophet in the world, you guys know, like, sure, I make predictions and guesses on things, but it's not really from the perspective of trying to say, I'm the best and I know everything and I get everything right, so pay attention to me because I'm the right person. Like, some people really love building their reputations on that, and that's fine. That's not me. Whether it's something that I'm familiar with behind the scenes, or whether it's something that I just put together in my brain because it makes sense, or if it's just a guess to just have fun guessing at things, sometimes I get things right, and it's obviously fun to talk about when you get things right, but that's not what I'm trying to do here. The last 6 or 7 months, I've been talking about the fact that a new Metroid game, probably 2D, makes sense in 2020. And that if there's any 2D game we're going to want, it's going to be a sequel to Fusion, a Metroid 5. And this tweet from this person says that what they're hearing behind the scenes is that it is a 2D game and that it is related to Fusion. One of the only ways it would make sense for a Metroid game to be related to be Fusion would be for it to just be a sequel. They could try to do some kind of spin-off game or a side story game that has to do with the SAX and the fusion suit and all that stuff, and maybe they do something there, or maybe they even do some other prequel game that's like set between Other M and Metroid Fusion if they wanted to do that. I mean, those kinds of things could happen. But let's be real. If they're doing something related to Fusion, it's a sequel, which means it's going to be Metroid 5, which gets me freaking like shaking in my boots with joy, excited. Like, the idea of that actually becoming real, because I've been thinking about it for so freaking long, and it also makes sense. It's a perfect game to fill the void between now and the release of Metroid Prime 4. Yes, the Prime Trilogy would as well, but this would be the perfect new game to release that could fill the void between now and Metroid Prime 4. And it's a 2D game, so we know that the level of development time and in-depthness and the size of the team is probably nowhere near what a Prime 4 is going to need. And I just really, if there's any truth to this, I want to see what a Switch-developed 2D Metroid 5 game is going to be like and look like and play like. It is the dream come true. And of course, there's been other 2D Metroid games that I've talked about, you know, a port of Samus Returns, which would be great. Some other 2D game that's not Metroid 5 or related to Fusion. Or, you know, a remake of a different game. The Super Metroid remake was going around a couple months ago, so maybe something like that happens. I don't really believe that, but you never know, so it could happen. But this Fusion thing makes a lot of sense, and it gets me I don't know, you guys, it gets me really super excited. So this is not confirmed. This person isn't, you know, somebody who knows everything in the world, and maybe their source is wrong, or maybe this person is just putting it out there because people like to just make up stuff sometimes and put it on the internet to get that clout. They need that internet clout. I don't know this person well enough to say that that's what they're doing, so I'm not making that claim, but I'm just reminding us all that it's a thing that happens. And until anything like this comes true, we don't know what to think. So it's possible. I've believed it for a while, but nothing is fact until Nintendo tells us that it's fact. Now, the Paper Mario thing, I guess I'll talk about this for a couple of minutes here. You know, I said at the beginning of the video that, you know, I'm not like, I don't really care about Paper Mario. And that's true, but it's not true in the way you might be thinking, because if a new Paper Mario game came out for the Switch and was a good Paper Mario game, I would buy it, and I would play it. The thing is, my experience with Paper Mario was limited to just Super Paper Mario, which I'm pretty sure was the one on the Wii. I played the game on the Wii, and I'm pretty sure that was Super Paper Mario. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good game. It was a cute game. It was really fun. It was definitely funny. Like, the text and the dialogue, the script is very hilarious. Like, really, like, on-the-nose humor, and I thought it was pretty cool. So that's that. But I'm not this huge diehard Paper Mario fan. I'm not even a huge RPG fan, a lot of you guys know. I enjoy some, and I'm willing to play a Paper Mario game, but I'm not like this rabid RPG fan. And so all the Mario RPG stuff, I've enjoyed what I've played, which is the first Mario and Luigi game and Super Paper Mario. I've enjoyed those games, but I'm not like, I don't really care about the series or the genre or the franchise too much. Obviously, Paper Mario Color Splash on the Wii U was a very big deal. Very controversial, very divisive, and it's unfortunate because I thought it looked amazing, actually. I was really excited for it until I started to hear that it's a bad game for whatever reason. And so I was like, I'm just going to pass and just save my money, and I never went back and actually picked it up. Although I would give it a shot. I just don't really care too much at this point. And I know that I have to be careful because I'm not familiar enough with the series to talk about it correctly. But there was something about, there's a Paper Mario game called Sticker Star Saga, I think, on the DS or the 3DS. And I think that was a Paper Mario game that Paper Mario fans did not like. And I guess Color Splash borrowed a lot from that, more from that game than from the older games. And whatever it means for these games to be different, it just wasn't the Paper Mario that they wanted it to be. And so if people are going to talk about a new Paper Mario game for the Nintendo Switch, and if they're going to make the claim like this person is here, where they say it's going back to how it was, I mean, that's all that this says, you know, this tweet, it's like, okay, well, that's probably what people want to hear. It sounds like that would get people very happy and very excited, so that could lead to it being something that's really just thrown out there that's not necessarily true because they know it's going to get people excited and get attention. But, to be fair and play devil's advocate here, if Nintendo was going to make a new Paper Mario, and I think that they would make a new one, I am sure that they actually would ignore what they did with Color Splash and probably want to make a Paper Mario game that they know people are going to like. So there definitely could be reason to believe it as well for that reason, because logically, one would think Nintendo would not make another Paper Mario game if it wasn't going back to how it was. Because Color Splash was not reviewed very well, did not sell very well, the community very much rallied against it, and how could Nintendo want to do that again? Why wouldn't they instead make a smarter choice to make Paper Mario the way they know people are going to like it? I think it's the exact reason why the first new Metroid game we're getting in a long time is Metroid Prime 4, because people rallied against Other M, even though I like the game as you guys know, but people rallied against it. And I think that they knew in order to win back fans and to please fans, they need to go back to a well that they know people will enjoy, which is the Metroid Prime series, and so that's what they're doing there. Why wouldn't they do the same with Paper Mario? I truly think that they would. So all in all, this is very interesting. It's definitely exciting. The Metroid stuff has me very excited at the prospect, even though I'm not fully believing either of these pieces of news or rumors until something is confirmed, and I recommend you also don't believe it until it's confirmed. It is still an exciting prospect, and as I've already said 10 times in this video, partly because I've already been predicting this exact thing for most of 2019. So this is just falling in line with what I already believed Nintendo was going to do. So that's great. The Paper Mario thing, again, I'll remind you, don't get it twisted. Just because I'm not a Paper Mario like super fan and I don't really care what happens with the series or not, if a good Paper Mario game was going to come out for the Switch, that would make me excited. And as I said, I would buy it and I would play it. If it also looked good. I mean, if for whatever reason it came out and everyone was excited for it, but I was like, it doesn't look good to me, then I wouldn't buy it. But I would expect, because I have some experience with Paper Mario that I did enjoy, I would expect a good-looking Paper Mario game on the Switch to excite me enough to buy it. Absolutely. So this is all very interesting, but it's all a rumor. Could be real, could be a hoax, could just be a flat-out lie. Who even knows? But it's exciting for now, right? So, I don't know. This is what I thought. Tell me what you guys think. What do you think about my thoughts and opinions on what's going on with Metroid and Paper Mario here? What do you think about this person's tweets? Do you believe this stuff? Do you not? Do you want them to be true? Do you not? Are you more excited about Metroid or are you more excited about Paper Mario? Whatever you think, talk about it below. And with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I will catch you next time on another video.